All right. There we go. Now we're recording. Okay, so math on your bonds is going to be the same as it was on your Series 7, Erica. So this should look relatively familiar. Remember what a flat line represents?
Par.
Yeah, and then you're definitely going to have to crunch current yield. And remember, the bond would either be trading at a discount or a premium. The ones that get tested most often are the bonds at a premium. And so maybe I tell you the bond's trading at 1,200, 120. And maybe I tell you the bond has a 7% coupon. And then I ask you, what is the current yield? And then you would have to take the 7%, right? That's based on par. So that's the nominal yield, the fixed or stated rate of return, whatever that happens to be. And you're definitely going to have to be able to calculate current yield, what an investment pays you divided by what it costs you. That is very testable. If it's a stock, what it pays you is the dividends. So we take 70, we divide by 1,200, and we find out it's 5.8. Now, we should know that there has to be a number lower than that, right? In other words, we should know it has to be lower than 7 anyway. So sometimes we can just shop our answer set, and that alone would give us the answer, right? So that would be our current yield, and that is testable. And then it's just like your Series 7. Where is the yield to maturity? Yield to maturity is less than 5.8. And the lowest yield here is going to be yield to call. So very much like your 7. But again, you can send me the practice questions and I can tell you whether it's Kaplan or past perfect and whether it's being a little outrageous. The other thing you're going to get tested on as it relates to bonds is not so much, again, can you do math, but do you have a general understanding of volatility, known as duration, and longer term bonds, right? Long and low are more volatile, have higher duration. You're also going to get tested on recognizing that the bonds yield to maturity, what you pay for this bond, 1,200, and what the yield to maturity, or in this case, yield to call, is the internal rate of return. And that's what brings the present value, net present value, to zero. And then you just got to recognize, in terms of looking at a price on a bond, it's all given information, no math. If there's positive net present value, it looks like it's undervalued. And if it's a negative net present value, it would be overvalued. So that would be it on bonds. But investment vehicles is about half the 6. The thing that is most testable are mutual funds once again. It's, can you compare open end to closed end? Very testable. Can you compare an open end fund to an ETF? And can you contrast ETFs and ETNs? That's where the vast majority of your questions are going to go. Is there any other bond math that you said you're bombing at? I know I got your email. You're bombing bond math. What bond math?
Yeah, there's a Kaplan question. It compares like a 5% coupon to a 6%. And it says if there is an increase in the interest rates, which one is going to have the most volatility?
Well, there you go. It'll be the one at 5%, right? The longer term with the lower coupons, right? So find that QID, send that my way. I'm more than happy to walk that through, but that's testing on volatility. Didn't ask you to do math there, I don't think. But all right, so let me see, Bizzle, if I can bring up the Kaplan QBank. Let's see, Kaplan QBank. Let me get rid of this. Let me boom. Let me put get the whiteboard to stop the share. And let's take this here. I think there's a couple Kaplan QIDs. So let me go get the Kaplan QBank. And when's your test date, Erica? Are you still here, Erica?
Of course, yes. I'm going to write this thing to the end. It's on Saturday.
Oh, wow. Okay. So no wonder you're starting to get a live kind of saying, she's,
I always get antsy at the end, Dean.
Yeah. So have you done any practice tests yet? Or what are you scoring on your complete practice tests?
I'm at like an average of 70, but.
Well, you're a grinder. So just, I'd stay the course and don't get wobbly, right? Just keep working.
Okay.
So let's see. Let me see now if I can bring this up for. I apologize. I'm not as proficient on this as I should be. So, okay. Let me see if I can share the screen here.
Dean, you mentioned rate of return or internal rate of return. I haven't seen any practice questions like that in my STC.
Okay, I'll
course.
try and find you one. I'll try and find you one. Can you guys see my Kaplan dashboard? Yes, no?
Yeah, it's a little
Yes.
zoomed in.
Yeah, I always blow it up because people sometimes are on cell phones. So let me put it back on the right. Uh-oh. I don't know what happened there. There we go. Okay, there we go. We'll get back in its normal shape. All right, so our first one is 137. Let's put that in here. 2120. 2120. 137. Is that 137, Basil? Or is that a 7?
Sorry, it's 1370858.
Oh, 0858. Man, what am I thinking? 0858. Oh, wow. Okay, so here we go. An investor purchased. So here's what I usually do, just so you know. The reason I blow it up is so that people can't see what the answer is when we're actually working questions. So that's kind of why I do that. But, you know, in our case, we need to actually be able to see it. Every time I hit that, I'm making it do something. Uh-oh. I accidentally hit it. Hold on. We got to go back again. 137. I'm sorry, Basil. One more time.
Yeah, 1370858.
0858. Okay. Boom. Okay. An investor purchased 100 shares of Paradigm Publishing Company on October 17th, 2020. The price was $83 a share. $83 a share. On April 11th, 2021. So on April 2021, they wrote the call. So they didn't write the call at the same time. They wrote the 85 call for 3. At expiration date, PPC stock is trading for 90. So now we need to know, this is the disadvantage of a covered call. Your gain is capped. You don't participate past the strike price. All right, so at expiration, it's 90, and the investor liquidates the stock. So that means you sold the stock at the strike price, which was 85, right? And you brought in 3 points for the option. And let's see, was it over a year? I think a year would have been October 17th to October 17th of 2021. It says, and the investor liquidates stock closes, the net tax consequences are. So the long-term capital gain, the investor wrote the call. You held the stock for more than a year, right? And so that is going to be a $500 long-term gain. What answer did you have here based on this one?
I did short-term gain because I thought the duration changes based on the option.
No, I think
so,
what you were probably doing, if this had been a put, it would have interrupted your holding period. If you had bought a put, you would have been correct that it interrupted the holding period on the stock, but it's not a put, right? So if you buy the put, that would interrupt the holding period, but a call does not interrupt the holding period, right? So I think that's probably what you were thinking, right? If this had read on April 11th, 2021, the investor bought a PPC November 80 put at 3, then it would be a different question, right? Because that would have been now you're no longer at risk. All right, let's see what our friend Bill James tells us as a rationale. Let's take the positions one at a time. The stock is purchased 83 and sold for 90. That's a long-term capital gain. Uh-oh, did I miss something in the question? At expiration date. I'm not sure why he's telling us we sold. Oh, this is Kaplan phraseology. What they're saying, we sold the stock and we closed the option. It turns out I don't even understand that, Visual. That is not what would happen. What would happen is this would get called away from you, right? So the way I did this question was I said, okay, I bought it for 83. I brought in 3 for the option. I'm net out of pocket 80. Gets called away at 85. I made 5 points. But I missed this whole point where now Kaplan is telling us that we liquidate the stock and we close the option for intrinsic value. By the way, Bill James is the guy in charge. And what I'm going to do is send him a nasty email after this saying, what the heck? Why are we doing this to people? I mean, this is crazy. Anyways,
Dean, could you answer why in that case, if it was a put, it would have been a short-term gain? Can you explain
Because
that?
remember, well, because when you buy a put, right, the phraseology, a lot of people say you have to own an investment for more than 12 months to qualify for a long-term capital gain. And I never say that. I say you have to be at risk for more than 12 months. And the minute you buy the protected put, you're no longer at risk, right? Because you have a choice to sell the stock. You put in that floor. And so that put will interrupt your holding period. Now, that won't matter if you buy the put and you've had the stock already for a year. But if you buy a put, I have one of those, by the way, just put married or protected put into the search bar. It'll come up, or I'll link it in the replay for you, where I go over that idea of the put interrupting the holding period. But again, as I said, all test vendors, I think, go way into the weeds on tax consequences of options. As I said, the main test question here is know why you do this. You do it to generate additional income. And I don't like the question either, because the idea is your gain is capped at 85. So there's no circumstance in which you're selling that stock at 90, because it's going to get called away from you. Anyways,
Right.
it's different. Were you struggling with the grammar on that? Is that like me? Are you just struggling with the phraseology?
No, I wasn't struggling with the grammar. Realistically, I was struggling with the idea is I didn't know that when you buy a call, it doesn't change your holding period. I was under the impression that call and puts.
Well, slow down. You didn't buy a call. You sold a call.
Sorry.
No, yeah, it's okay. But it's kind of, you got to be careful on that. Yeah.
That's what got me. And then, yeah, when I read the description and I saw that 700 and sold for 90, that totally.
I'm with you. I'm with you. So I told you the other reason I do this. I don't know if I've been tinkering around the channel. I started the channel 2 years ago, and we always are doing things different than we used to in certain circumstances. But what I do, the other reason I do this is so that when I'm going over a question like this, we don't get bogged down with that rationale. So what I mean, but if you see me do this question, and before I even do the reveal, I just make the T, and then I just say, okay, I'm out. Everybody does options different. I say I'm out 83 for the stock. I brought in 3 points for the option. I have to sell the stock at the strike price. And so that's how I go about answering that. And then, by the way, when I then read the rationale, I go, oh God, my method is so much better. So it's just easier, right? So yeah, that's a lot of stuff. Well, that's a lot of stuff. All right, let me shrink that back. I wouldn't beat yourself up on any of the tax consequences of options, just because it's not going to be material, but you should definitely know strategy. You should know why somebody did this. Okay, see, our next one, I think, was that Cynthia, somebody put in this 128, 29, what is that, 96? Is that what that is? Oh, geez, that's not right. 128, 2996. Okay, so here a 38-year-old investor places 25,000 into a qualified. Somebody brought this up in the live stream, and this is so important, right? Because remember what the word qualified means? Qualified typically means you're using
Institutional.
Well, yeah, but it means too, you're using pre-tax money. So this $25,000 we're assuming, and since it's qualified, that this person has never paid taxes on that 25 grand. 20 years later, the account is valued at 72,000, and the investor surrenders the policy. Oh, so they surrender policy. The investor's in a 25% marginal income tax bracket. The total tax liability is going to be, as we said here, the entire 72,000 times the 25%, right? And then the 10% penalty. Who brought this one up? Were you struggling with this not recognizing? Did you miss this person is not 59 and a half? What was the challenge you had on this question? Please note, very important. If this said non-qualified, that 25,000 would be after tax. That would be money you already paid taxes on. And then you would owe taxes on the difference between 25 and 72 at the 25% plus the 10% penalty, right? Whoever brought up this question, does that take care of that for you? I'm thinking you probably missed the penalty, or you thought the 20.
That was me. Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So the way I would have missed this is, again, this is where you got to be real careful, right? You know, if this was, that's the key word. That's what I think in livestock, I said, that's why that's so important, because that is our hint that this is pre-tax. And what that means is no cost base. That's what that means in English, plain English, that money, that 25 has never had taxes paid on it. So now we don't net it. We don't net the difference in the 75 and the entire 72,000 has never had taxes paid. This whole $72,000 is taxable, right? So that's, I think, the trick on that one. And then it says you're in a 25% tax bracket and the keyword qualified annuity. So then 25% of that plus the 10% penalty, that's an additional 10. So, and then effectively that's 35. I don't think they asked you the effective tax bracket, but you know, that's what that is. All right. Any other Kaplan Q Bank questions? We had a series 10, I think. Are you still with us? Our series 10 guy, or was that the live stream? I wrote down that QID. Was that Dan or somebody? I gave me a Kaplan series 10 question to do. Any other Kaplan questions?
I had one, Dean.
Yeah.
I think it was 126.
Yeah, no, I knew you were going to do that. As soon as I put away the Kaplan Q Bank, then you tell me you got one. Okay, what is it?
126.
Yep.
4036.
36. Okay, let's bring that one up. And let's see if Dean is capable of finding this on the screen again. Okay, can you guys see that on the screen?
Yes.
Yes.
And is this the correct question?
Yes.
Yeah, this one's kind of overkill, but remember the 5% policy is not a rule. It's a policy is a guideline, right? The difference between a policy and a rule is a policy is for the guidance of wise men and women. You know, a rule is for the blind obedience of fools. So I can't actually charge somebody more than 5%. What this amounts to is that broker dealers have to have a normal pattern to their charges, a commission schedule. They can't be making it up on the fly. You should definitely know the 5% policy doesn't apply to any offering made with a prospectus, because you know the spread there is on the front page. So when customer tells me to sell security A to buy security B, for purposes of the 5% policy, that is one transaction. So the compensation, for example, I'll just make up some numbers. If you sold $100,000 worth of security and I charged you $3,000. So you sell $100,000 of ABC. I charge you $3,000. You say, Dean, take the proceeds and buy $100,000 of XYZ, and I charge you $3,000. I have charged you $6,000 on $100,000. I've charged you 6%. So it is a combination of both the buy and the sell side. I think that's more of a 24-10 question than a 7 question, but I would know that 5% policy. And then the other thing I would remember is the MSRB doesn't have a 5% policy. The MSRB just says that whatever it is should be fair and reasonable. So they don't actually have a number. They just say it should be fair and reasonable. What did you say? Did you know what your miss was? Was it each side of the transaction separately?
It was, yep.
Okay. Well, remember, you can kind of think like a compliance officer here. B would allow me to charge you more money. So the idea is that, you know, from a compliance standpoint, the number that restricts me is usually going to be the number that applies, right? So in my example, what you said is that I charged you 3% because I charged you $3,000 on 100, and I charged you $3,000 on a different 100, and I just charged you $3,000 on 100. No, I charge you. It's called same day substitution, right? So you took security A to buy security B. So that's not $200,000. That's $100,000. That's $100,000. All right. Any other Kaplan Q Bank questions before we look at our next one?
Yeah, Dean, I have one more. 146.
146 82
08.
08. Wow. You know, Durf Corporation have a significant amount of cash on hand. The chief financial officer has suggested to the chief executive officer that it might be wise to use some of that cash to reduce the company's outstanding debt by $10 million. There are 4 bond issues outstanding, and your approach is advised to determine which issue to repay. Which of the 4 issues? Now, what I would do in this is think about your own situation. If you have debt in your life, you're probably going to want to pay off the debt you're paying the most interest on, right? So if you start retiring loans, So that would be, as a test taker, what I'm kind of projecting. I'm projecting here, there's in the question, there's going to be 4 issues, and I'm going to look probably at the bond with the highest coupon is where I'm going to go first. I might have to do some more. By the way, these questions are kind of tough. There's 3 styles of questions on your test. Recognition, T+2, practical application, break even. And then these are what I call judgment questions. These are where you go, oh man, I don't know. About 10% of the 7 is judgment questions. All right, let's see what our choices are. Yeah, right. Well, listen, I could have, if I'm going quick, I don't know if you did this, but please note, we can't call bond D. The reason it's not bond D, was that your answer? That's a good miss. But it's a good miss, right? Dean was going here, and I was just about to squeeze the trigger on that. Then I saw, oh, we can't get rid of that one. We're stuck on that one because it's non-callable. So that means, okay, well, those guys are lucky bastards. Excuse my language. They get to keep their bonds. And that means we're going to call these guys, right? So was that your miss? That's a good miss.
I was thinking,
yeah.
And Dean,
thank you.
Pretty much that other information is just extraneous to throw us off, right?
I'm not sure what the extraneous other stuff is. Let me go back again.
Well,
so
yeah, do in 10 years, do in 20 years, do in 5 years.
Well, yeah, because remember, the whole point is we're not going to be around that long because we're trying to get rid of the stuff, right? So yeah. So we just go to the highest coupon. And, for most intents and purposes, we wouldn't assume that 12% is non-callable. For test purposes, you should know that 0 coupon bonds are non-callable, and you should know that treasury notes and treasury bonds are non-callable. I got a guru question for you. Here's one for you. I think you're going to get it because all your questions have been good judgment kind of questions. What if we, so here it says 15 million. So we're going to be doing a partial call, right? Because it says we have 15 million outstanding. So how do we decide which of those bondholders are going to have to give up their bonds? How do we do a partial call like this?
Random.
Yeah, right on. Random or by lottery, right? So I call you and I say, hey, those 8% bonds? You go, God, Dean, I love those 8% bonds. Brand new ones are only paying like 5%. And the only thing I'm worried about is past its call protection period. You should definitely know that call risk is associated with a declining interest rate environment. Right. And then, I call you and you say, well, gee, I always want my number to come up in the lottery. I go, well, here, you're the loser if you have to give up the bonds. By the way, I could have said least likely to be called, and least likely would have been the bond C, right? All right, let's see what the rationale is. Oh well, I got it blown up so it looks bigger than it is. Yeah, it sounds like it's pretty much what we said here. Partial call would be the recommendation. They're asking to play investment banker. Any other ones before I kill the QBank? By the way, I don't know, are you guys using the QBank as a supplement, or is this a Kaplan your primary study material?
Dean, can you go over the one I sent you?
I don't know which one you sent me. Was it 66?
Yes.
Do you have the QID handy? Is it Kaplan?
It's Kaplan, but it's an email.
Okay.
I can grab it really fast.
Oh yeah, why don't you grab it? Are you guys using Kaplan, the QBank, as a supplement, or are you using it as your primary? Okay. The only reason I ask is what's that, supplement? So the reason I like it as a supplement, as you can see, it's just easier for me to be helpful. I mean, I'll help you with, past perfect or STC, any questions you have, but as you can see, it's just easier to help you with Kaplan questions because we don't have to do a bunch of cutting and pasting and all that kind of stuff.
Can you access the Kaplan QBank just free of charge, or you have to?
No, I can access it free. No, I can access I am I have privileges, right? So you can see here, I have access to all the Kaplan QBanks because I teach all the Kaplan classes. Kaplan contracts with Guru Exam Prep LLC, which is me, to teach some of their classes. And so as a result, I have access to their stuff. So you want 66, Erica? Erica, you still here? Erica.
I sent it to you in chat, Dean.
Oh, okay. All right. 151
VIP
7896. 151. What am I missing here? I think I put an extra 5 in there. Okay. This is very testable. I haven't read the question yet, Erica, but for everyone, everyone, I don't care what exam you're taking, you need to be able to contrast open-end and closed-end funds. Mutual funds, 20 questions on the 7. Even on your 66, I think people misinterpret, how many mutual fund questions they're going to get. I would definitely know we're going to calculate the NAV at least once per business day. I would definitely know we're doing business based on the next calculation. That's called forward pricing. And then I would know that the thing that makes the NAV go up and down is the portfolio of securities going up and down. I would know that additional contributions to the fund have no effect and redemptions have no effect. I know we have to meet redemptions within 7 calendar days. Okay, so it says when an open-end management investment company computes its NAV, each of the following occurrences would have an impact except. So what we're looking for is things that about the securities, as I just said, right? If the interest payments on the debt securities are paid into the fund, NAV goes up. If a drop in the value of our holdings, it goes down. A capital's distribution, the distribution will make it go down. And I said the trick is purchase and redemption have no effect on the NAV because the number of shares goes up or down, but the divisor moves the same way. I'm not going to show you the math. I do have a video and I'll link to it. And I'll show you the math and why that's not the case. But you should definitely know that purchasing and redeeming mutual funds has no effect on the NAV. The main thing is the securities. Let's see here. Because shares are purchased and redeemed, net redemptions have no effect. There you go. That is testable. That is indeed testable, Erica. Which were you struggling with one of these? Which one were you struggling with? Do you recall what you tried to answer here? You should have been fumbling.
I sent it to the universe. I didn't know how to go about answering this question.
So I think, what I would have done right here, you want to project the right answer. So first thing I would have said is, okay, the main driver of NAV is value of securities. And then I would have eliminated B and C because that does cause, right? B and C have securities in them. So I would have been able to get this to a 50-50 as a test taker pretty quickly because it's about securities. That's the only thing, right? Securities. So then I would have had a 50-50 and it would have been A or D. And then I would have said, okay, now you know either recognition or by doing the math. Now you should know based on recognition, right, that that's not true. But if you want, you can see the math and see how it plays out. And it's the same number. It's like paying your bills has no effect on your working capital, right? Because if you write a check to pay your bills, you have less of a current asset, cash, but you also have less of a liability, current liability. So you have the same working capital as you started with. All right. Any others? Let me check out chat. Kaplan is a son. Susie, yeah, Susie does some stuff on there on the video too. Are you using, you're using Past Masters? That's great. Yeah.
I use Past Masters for my SAE because I bought the SAE course for Kaplan first because that's what my broker dealer recommended. Yeah. And when they shipped me that book and I saw 400 pages,
I'm with you. Yeah, I'm thinking about calling Susie and seeing if she'll let me put with some of her Past Master stuff like a practice exam up on the channel, but we'll see. So,
Dean, I sent you one more.
Okay, one more quick
question.
I
put my question. I sent that to you in the email.
Who is this talking?
Haley.
Okay, was it a 7 or 66?
7.
Okay, well, can you just read it as a 7? Okay, I'll go back to the 7 bank and just read it to me because I'm not being facetious. I'm just technically literate. I'm afraid if I try and go get my email right now,
it's not a Kaplan, it's an STC.
Oh, okay. I'll try and grab it. So we'll see if I can do it. I'm pretty sure I might be. Okay. Second is not there. Somebody reached out to me. I'll reach out, Oscar, to Kaplan. I don't know what happened. I don't know if it's you that told me that earlier. I apologize if I didn't get back to you, but somebody did tell me that the videos are missing from the Kaplan class. So I will check with Kaplan tomorrow and let you know. All right, Erica has one more, and then we'll go get the email and see what that one is about. 156 1206. Although bonds are issued by many different, I thought I did this one for you. Did I not send you an email on this one?
No, you only gave me.
Oh, I thought I did. Okay. Although bonds are issued many different entities, most of these features are the same. With few exceptions, included that list of similarities would be all of these except So do all bonds have a stated maturity date? They do, 10 years, 5 years, whatever the case may be. Do all have a stated interest? Yeah, fixed or stated, or nominal yield or coupon, yeah. Do all bonds move inversely with interest rates? This is a bad miss, because you should definitely know that safety of principal is not the same, right? You should definitely know that bonds that are less than investment grade have a bigger threat in terms of credit risk to you than bonds that are investment grade. You should definitely know that there's no better credit quality than that of the United States government, and that treasury bonds have much more safety of principal than corporate bonds, right? You should definitely know that muni bonds are the second safest form of credit. So this was a bad miss, Erica. You should
So
definitely
I'm
know.
just I'm confused because I thought you always get back par. So how is there
No,
risk
you
of
don't.
principal?
Bonds can default. The bond is a promise. You don't always get back par. There's all kinds of people sitting on bonds that have defaulted in the past. Default means they don't pay you, right? You know, Elon borrowed what, $10 billion to buy Twitter? And he's saying that it's a real financial challenge, and that, you know, he may not pay back the bonds. He may allow the bonds to default. Meaning he's not going to pay the interest and he's not going to pay the principal, right? So you don't always get back par. That's the point. You do not always get back par. You know, bonds default. Are we clear what default means? That means they don't pay, right? So you were thinking wrong on that one, Erica. Right? Assuming they don't default, you get your principal back, right? But that's a big assumption. So that was a bad miss.
This is my SOS, Dean. I need more of you and less of me. So
well, there you go. So you know, just keep sending the QIDs. I'm sorry. I remember seeing this in an email from you, so I don't know why I didn't answer it for you. Okay, so let's go check emails. Let's see if I can do that. Stop share while Dean gets his email. I don't think there's anything untoward on my screen, but let's see. Did you send it to Dean, the Series 7 Guru, or my personal email? Okay.
Yeah, that one.
Erica caused me to have to get an email just for this because, you know, I was using my personal email, my personal cell phone. You know, we're coming up on 2 million views and 20,000 subscribers. And my God, I'm getting like, you know, like crazy. So this is, are you Trina?
No, I'm Haley.
Haley, where are you at, Haley? Dean, you sent it to the Guru email or the Dean Tenney email?
The Guru one.
I'm not seeing you here. I see Basil claiming his drawing.
I'm trying to find
Trina Perryman. I have an email from Trina.
I'm trying to find it just so I can. I had snipped it and the snip wouldn't save into the chat.
Well, yeah,
so,
I'm not an expert on that. I have no idea about that. Can you read it to me? Is it a 7? Can you read it to us?
It's really long. I mean, yes.
Well, I'll tell you what. I'll check my email again.
Okay.
But it's not showing up here. Did you get it right? It's Dean, the Series 7 Guru at gmail.com. No spaces, no nothing.
Okay. Here, let me see if I can just send it real quick right now if you have time.
I'm looking at it right now. So
you are looking at it? Or
I'm looking at my email. No, I'm looking at my email waiting for you to send it.
The Series 7 Guru at gmail.com.
At gmail.com.
Okay. Let me see if I can drop this in here. Okay.
And then the other thing I would tell you, you're testing Friday. You'll be joining us on the next leg of Journey 66. So these live stream overtimes, we don't do them every Tuesday. We do them some Tuesdays, and after tonight, I'll put up the next one, and we do cap it at 10. And so, you know, if you want to join us again, make sure you go claim your spot. I'm not seeing anything.
Here it comes. It's coming.
Okay. Let's see. Come on, refresh. Refresh. There you are. Oh, okay. I have it. All right. So let me now get back to you. It's an option. Ooh. Okay. Can you guys see my screen again?
Yeah, we can.
Can you see the question?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm sending the explanation. I'm sure you don't need it, but
yeah, well, yeah, that's okay. I do appreciate it because some people, you know, I have a policy. It's not my job to do your homework, and people will just send me a question without their attempt and without their rationale. But again, everybody's options a little different. So the way I do it, if you've been following me, I make a T and I like to track monies. So
yeah, I
first
did the
thing I'm gonna
T
do-
and then I just got lost and I
Okay,
didn't know where I was, so I guessed.
well, that's okay though. I mean, that's practice, drilling, and rehearsing, and I can just tell you already, this has a lot of stuff going on. I mean, so you know, I wouldn't feel too bad about that. And I use dollars out, dollars in. I'm gonna do that. You know, you almost got to take a little kind of a strategic pause. And what I mean by that is decide how to proceed in a question like this, particularly if it's kind of messy. And this is pretty messy. So I'm going to read it once through just to see in my TI. I want to set this up. So Mr. Green buys 300 shares at 15. That's going to be dollars out. She then writes 3 RSW July 20 calls at $1 in. She writes 3 RSW July 10 puts at 50 cents. The maximum potential loss on the entire position is. Now, I would have said, okay, well, I can, since they're asking me the entire position and not the break even, I'm going to go ahead and just put in all the money. So I'm at first I call this my setup. So I'm going to get my calculator and I put 300 shares at 15. Boom. That's $4,500. I know you're laughing, but I need to use my calculator. I'm terrible at arithmetic. So, you know, anytime I don't use my calculator, it's embarrassing. I, you know, can't do the basic arithmetic. Okay. So there's that. Any questions where I got that $4,500?
Nope.
Okay. Then the next thing I'm going to do, this is called my initial setup. I'm writing 3 of the 10 puts. That's important. I'm writing them. So again, what I would hope is you can quickly say, okay, that's an obligation to buy the stock, right? I'm going to have to buy some more stock here. And I'm writing 3 July 20 calls at 1, and that's an obligation to sell the stock. So I'm going to, in one fell swoop, so 3 contracts, that's going to be 300 for the calls. And I'm going to just put what that is. That's the 20 calls. And then I'm writing 3 of the July 10 puts at 50 cents. And so that's going to be 150, right? Because again, we got each contract governs 100 shares. There's 3 of them. And this is going to be my 10 puts. So that's an obligation to buy the stock. Okay. So now it says, what is my maximum potential loss on the entire position? So the first thing I think to myself is I go, well, if this stock goes to 0, stock always dominates. So that's important. So to kind of get my bearings in this question, I'm going to say, okay, well, it looks like that's really what's going on is me buying the stock. And I'm going to say, okay, well, if this stock goes to 0, I'm going to lose $4,500 there. And if the stock goes to 0, I'm going to get exercised and I'm going to have to buy 300 more shares at 10. So I'm going to pay out another $3,000 on the getting exercised on the puts.
Okay.
Right. And the puts, the stock is again worthless. All right. And then hopefully when we net all these numbers, it ends up being one of those choices.
Yeah,
so.
It is. It's I see it now. So I didn't have that. She'd have to buy the 3.
Yeah. You know what they don't give you a lot of room here, but I really recommend, particularly on the puts, if you've seen me explicate things, what I do is underneath that, you know, I'll just do it here. And again, even if you know options, I had a guy who's very, very smart and, you know, he still does this. I would put, you know, maybe over here contract, I have an obligation to sell. And then over here, I'm going to put obligation to buy. That's the contract specification. So the key to option is being able to do it. And I said, the second thing I say a lot is, you know, stock dominates. So, you know, if you were watching me do this, the minute you get to the stock position, you should say, that's what's driving this transaction. No matter what comes next, this is what's driving this transaction.
Okay.
right? That's how you kind of figure out that this is going to be the bad news, right?
Yeah.
And then you play out the bad news all the way through the question. That's
Got
a tough. Is this past perfect?
STC.
STC. Oh my goodness, they're trying to compete with past perfect. Maybe we need to have a STC support network as well.
One of my colleagues just took the 7 and she said the test questions were much harder than the real test.
Yeah, well, we all test prep vendors want you to be pleasantly surprised.
Yeah,
so
I want to be pleasantly surprised too.
Yeah, we're able to stretch your mind.
Thank you so much. That helps a lot.
Okay, you bet. Let's see what we got left. Erica, I wouldn't worry at all about whole life because whole life is a life insurance policy. I would know on universal life, the only contrasting point is that may lapse due to insufficient cash value, right? So that's really not a target-rich environment on your 66. All right, anybody else for our live stream overtime session? Last call.
Hey, Dean, we didn't get a chance to go over accretion or.
Yeah, what happened? I started off. I said, were you late coming in?
No, I put it in the chat. I don't think we got to it, but
okay, all right. Well, we can do it. We can do it. You want to do it? Okay, so
sure.
Boom. So the one that's testable, it's about 50% probability is muni bonds purchased at a premium. So when you buy a muni bond at a premium, you have to adjust your cost base. You have to do straight line amortization downward. And so if I buy a muni bond, for example, for $1,200, I'm just making that up, and it has 10 years to maturity, what I would like to do is I'd like to hold this bond. And then when it matures, take a $200 loss against my tax return because, if I own muni bonds, I own other things. And the IRS says, no. You can't, Dean, on a muni bond at a premium, realize that loss anytime you'd like. You're going to have to do straight line amortization downward. That's called decretion. So what I have to do is adjust my cost base. So let's say on the test, I tell you your customer purchases a muni bond for $120 with 10 years to maturity. So I have to say, okay, well, I'm going to lose $200 over 10 years. And so what I need to write down each year is $20. You see how I got that $20? That is our first kind of thing. It's kind of this question requires multiple steps, right? So your customer buys a muni bond for $120 with 10 years to maturity. And then they say after holding it for 6 years, your customer sells for $1,100. After holding for 6 years. Now, if you miss this completely, and as I said, this is 50% probability, you're going to say that the customer has a $100 loss, right? But that's not necessarily the case, right? Because now what we have to do is figure out what is the adjusted cost base of this customer if he's held this muni bond for 6 years. So if you've held this muni bond for 6 years, and you were supposed to be writing off $20 a year, you should have adjusted your cost base by 120. Right, so my original cost basis was 1,200. I have adjusted that by 120. Remember that 120 is the 6 years at $20 per pop. Boom. And so my adjusted cost base is 108. So actually the answer to the question is that I have a $20 gain because I have adjusted this cost base, right? So let's review. This is go all the way back to the beginning. Here's the test phraseology. Your customer buys a muni bond for $120 with 10 years to maturity. After holding it for 6 years, your client sells for $110. What is the gain or loss? Your customer buys a muni bond for $120 with 10 years to maturity. after holding it for 6 years, sells for 110. What is the customer's gain or loss? So you say, okay, well, I have to do straight line amortization downward. So the difference between what I paid, cost basis, and redemption is $200. $200 over 10 years. So I have to decrete $20 a year on my cost basis. I have to take this loss in little itty bitty hits. So if I've had it for 6 years, my original cost base was 120, 1200, and I've taken that $120 loss, that's my adjusted cost base. And now I sell for 1,100. And the answer is I have a $20 gain. And again, this is a 50% probability on the test that you'd have to do that. Accretion, I'm not going to make you crunch on the test. I'm not going to make you crunch accretion. You just need to know it needs to be done on zero coupon bonds. And then you're going to pay interest on the interest that you haven't received. So, all right. Anything else for tonight? Last call.
Thank you so much, Dean. Really appreciate
You're
it.
welcome.
Dean.
You're welcome. We'll be live again, by the way, because when we cross 2 million, can you believe it? We're going to cross
That's
2 million
amazing.
views. Yeah, and I'm going to go live. So I'm not going to be answering questions, though, but I'll have a cocktail and a stogie. And
When is that going to be?
Well, as soon as we cross, it's going to be whenever it happens, right?
Oh, when you're not going to be live. Okay.
Well, no, I'm going to be live, but it's going to be spontaneous when we cross.
Oh,
So
I see. I see. Cool,
yeah.
cool.
I'm going to hit the live button and
test
Erica,
is
who
on the
knows?
13th.
You might.
So this
we'll
is my
see.
last Tuesday.
Okay. Well, no, Tuesdays we do regardless. So Tuesday is a different deal. I'm just talking about an unscheduled pop-up live stream when we cross 2 million.
Okay.
Hey, Dean.
And Erica, I might even do a question for you if I haven't had too many cocktails or, by the time you check in. Yeah, I'm sorry.
Dean, what is the $150 million exemption or exclusion?
Where I don't know what the context is for what. I don't know. I don't think of any testable 150. The definite one is 100 million. You definitely gotta know that. That's for quibs. That's for federally covered advisors. There's a lot of 100 million, but I'm not sure the 150. Just do you have context or you have a question or?
No, I just wanted to see if it was related to anything. I know the 100, the 110, the 25 million, right?
Well, listen, Erica, if Dean doesn't know what it is, and it's not on the test, so if you find a 150, send it to me. But I can't think of anything off the top of my head that's 150.
Okay.
It might be the pension benefit plans. I don't think is 150. I can't think of a test question where the answer is 150. I can think of numerous questions where the answer is 100. Right. Anything else, guys and gals?
Dean,
thanks, Dean.
Is it possible to do one more? And this is more of an offline type of, you already know where I'm going with the squeaky wheel, but I just think maybe for your alumni, maybe like a quick 30-minute something, like a call or just.
Well, we already do the office hours, Erica. You got the 30 minutes there. I mean,
I want another one, Dean.
I know you do. You can't ask if you don't get. When are you testing?
I test on Saturday.
Yeah, it's just almost impossible because I'm going to be, I'm just completely booked. I mean, I'd love to give that to you and I would, but I'm out of here tomorrow morning off to my cabin. I'll check in with you, Erica. I'm trying to get my Starlink and my internet hooked up to the cabin. And if I can do that, I'll let you know. And then I'd be more than happy to do that for you. But otherwise, I'm off the grid in a way that
grid.
There's just no way I can. Well, yeah, but if I can get the internet up and running, I should know by maybe late afternoon whether that's going to work. I can't imagine it's not. I mean, but I told you I'm kind of technically challenged. But assuming that works, it would be a great day for me and a great day for you because I'd be more than happy. And you can be my guinea pig on whether I can actually do live streams and tutoring and stuff from the cabin. I'm not quite sure I'm going to be able to do that, but I'm trying.
Okay. Thanks, Dean.
Okay, everybody. I will see you next time. Oscar, the
best.
internal rate. Yeah, the internal rate of return, Oscar, is what brings future value to present value. So if I'm like a private equity fund, I tell you the internal rate of return, Oscar, is 22%. And that's our target. And Oscar, if we can take get 22%, that takes your present value of 10 million in our private equity fund to 30 million. It's what brings the 30 to 10 or the 10 to the 30. It basically takes net present value to zero. As I said, it's usually asked in conjunction with a bond, is how they usually ask that. Okay, anything else, guys? All right.
Thank
I'll
you,
see you
Dean.
next time.
But Dean, quick
Thanks,
question.
bye.
I'm sorry, somebody had one more thing?
Oh,
No?
yeah. Yep, it's me. Just one quick question. On August 10th, you have on scheduled a economics
Yeah,
class.
I do.
Was that for Series 7 too? Or
Yeah, well, you won't need it as much on Series 7. It's
Yeah,
main,
so I
you
was
can
thinking.
certainly participate. It's mainly for the SIE and the 65, but it wouldn't hurt you.
Mhm.
Wouldn't
Okay.
hurt you. It's about, private, it's about fiscal monetary policy, tools of the Fed, value of the dollar going up and down,
Mhm.
GDP, all that kind of stuff.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much,
Okay.
Dean.
Okay, bye-bye.